My dear brothers and sisters, sometimes in life we chase after sustenance as if it's something running away from us. We run from door to door, from one opportunity to another, believing that if we just work harder, network better, or think smarter, the doors of Rizq will finally open. But what if I told you that the key to your sustenance is not locked in this world? It's held by the one who created it. What if I told you that the most powerful dua for Rizq is not simply words you recite, but a doorway to a deeper connection with Allah? You see, when Allah provides, He doesn't just give you wealth. He gives you barakah, a type of blessing that multiplies even the smallest amount into more than enough. Today, we will uncover that secret dua, the one that can transform your life, not only in what you receive, but in how your heart learns to trust the giver himself. The heart that seeks sustenance must first learn to seek the sustainer. When you understand that Rizq, your provision, your income, your opportunities, your blessings, comes not from people, nor from your own effort alone, but from the one who opens the unseen doors, then your whole perspective begins to shift. You start realizing that chasing after the world is not the same as chasing after the one who owns it. There's a deep peace that settles in your chest when you stop running after creation and turn your face toward the Creator. The dua that transforms lives, the dua that moves mountains of hardship and unlocks the hidden treasures of Rizq, is the dua of Yunus, as is when he was in the belly of the whale. La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu mina zalimina. There is no deity except you, exalted are you. Indeed, I have been of the wrongdoers. Surah Al-Anbiya 2187. This is not merely a statement of words, it is a surrender. When Prophet Yunus A.S. was swallowed by the whale in complete darkness, darkness of the sea, of the night, of the belly of the creature, he called upon Allah with these words, and Allah responded. This dua is not only for forgiveness, it is the strongest key to Rizq. Because Rizq doesn't come from effort alone, it flows from forgiveness, from humility, from knowing that you are nothing without Him. Every door that seems locked, every opportunity that seems out of reach begins to move when you humble your heart and say, Ya Allah, I have wronged myself. When the heart admits its dependence, the heavens respond. Sometimes our Rizq is delayed not because Allah has forgotten us, but because He wants us to return to Him first. The dua of Yunus teaches us that sustenance begins not with work, but with worship. It begins not with striving outwardly, but with surrendering inwardly. Rizq is not only what you earn, it's also peace in your home, love in your relationships, health in your body, barakah in your time. And all of that flows from the same source. So if you want Rizq that changes your life, don't just ask for money. Ask for the state of the heart that attracts blessings. Ask with tears. Ask with humility, ask with truth. The dua of Yunus As is a dua of awakening, a realization that everything you need already belongs to Him and that He can bring it to you in a moment if He wills. When you recite this dua sincerely, you are not only asking for relief, you are confessing your smallness before His greatness. And that sincerity becomes magnetic. It pulls mercy, forgiveness, and provision from places you never imagined. Rizq will follow you when your heart is aligned with Him, when your tongue remembers Him, and when your actions reflect gratitude. So make this dua not only when you are in hardship, but when you are comfortable, when you eat, when you wake, when you walk, when you plan your future. Let it live in your breath because it reminds your soul that nothing belongs to you except what He allows. When you truly believe that, you will find Rizq not only filling your hands, but your heart. Rizq is written, but the beauty lies in the barakah that Allah places within it. You could have little and yet feel full, or you could have much and still feel empty. The difference is not in the amount, it's in the blessing. There are people who live in small homes but sleep with hearts at peace, and there are those who live in palaces but are restless every night. True Rizq is not measured by what your hands hold, but by what your heart feels. The dua of Yunus as La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu mina zalimina reminds you that sustenance is spiritual before it becomes material. When you purify your connection with Allah, you purify the flow of Rizq that reaches you. You begin to notice that barakah fills even the smallest of blessings. You find time stretching, food multiplying, and heart softening. You find your needs met before you even speak them. Because rizq doesn't only travel through your hands, it travels through your sincerity, your gratitude, your patience, and your trust. When you wake up in the morning and say Alhamdulillah with a heart that truly feels it, you have already attracted more rizq than a person who earns without remembrance. When you pray Fajr and whisper that dua of Yunus as you are calling upon the same Lord who sustained a man inside the belly of a whale, in the middle of the sea, in the darkest night, if he could sustain him there, how could he ever forget you? Rizq is not bound by logic or circumstance. It is not limited by your job, your background, your degree, or your family. It comes from the one who commands the heavens and the earth. When Allah decides to open a door, no one can close it. And when He withholds, no one can force it open. That's why sometimes He delays our rizq to bring us back to Him. We start chasing people, we start begging for opportunities, and He gently reminds us, return to me. Because if He gave you everything without your heart turning toward Him, you would lose the real treasure. The real treasure is not in having, but in knowing who gives. So when you recite the dua of Yunus, don't just say it from your lips, say it from your depths. Admit your need. Say, Ya Allah, you are pure, and I am among the wrongdoers. Forgive me. Provide for me from where I do not expect, and you will see doors open that you didn't even know existed. Barakah is not visible, but its effects are undeniable. You will see it when your earnings suddenly cover more, when your meals feel more satisfying, when your home feels calmer, when your heart feels lighter. That's rizq in its purest form. And it all begins when you stop depending on your effort alone and start depending on the one who gave you the ability to make that effort in the first place. There's a beauty in surrender, a peace that comes when you say, Ya Allah, I trust you more than I trust my plans. Because sometimes in the very delay of rizq, there is protection. In the slowing down of what you desire, there is hidden mercy. So never measure your success by what you have. Measure it by how connected you are to the one who provides. When you start every day with remembrance, when your heart beats with La ilaha illa anta, you are planting seeds of abundance that will bloom in both worlds. Rizq flows toward the heart that is content, that is grateful, that is sincere. And when you learn that, even the smallest coin in your hand becomes weightier than gold because it came with His blessing. The dua of Yunus is not merely words that pass the tongue. It is a release for the soul that feels trapped. It is a cry from the depths of darkness, a whisper that pierces through despair, and a key that unlocks the closed gates of provision. When Yunus is called upon Allah from the belly of the whale, he was surrounded by layers of darkness. The darkness of the sea, the darkness of the night, and the darkness of the whale's belly. Yet Allah heard him. Allah responded. That moment was not just a miracle for him. It was a timeless message for every believer who ever feels buried under hardship, debt, scarcity, or fear. The dua of Yunus teaches us that rizq is not lost. It's often just waiting for your heart to remember who provides it. There are moments in life when you feel stuck in your job, your finances, your circumstances, and no matter how much you try, nothing seems to move. That stillness can feel like a prison. But it is in those moments that Allah invites you to call upon Him with this powerful dua. Because sometimes what you see as a delay is not a denial, it's a divine redirection. It's Allah preparing you to receive what you asked for in a better way with a stronger heart. When Yunus said these words, he didn't ask for release, he confessed his humility. He didn't demand, he surrendered. And Allah, who loves humility, responded not only with rescue, but with renewed purpose. If you feel the weight of debt pressing against your chest, if you see no door to relief, if you've been working and nothing seems to increase, this is your dua. When you say La ilaha illa anta, you're proclaiming that no one, not a boss, not a client, not the market, not even your effort, controls your rizq. Only Allah does. When you say Subhanaka, you're purifying your perception, declaring that Allah is perfect, that his plan has no flaws, that even your struggle is wrapped in wisdom. And when you admit, inni kuntu minaz zalimin, you're acknowledging your own limitations, your own mistakes, your own inability to do it all. And in that moment of surrender, the chains begin to loosen. Many people recite this dua when they are in hardship, but the truth is, it's also a dua of transformation, because every time you say it with understanding, it breaks the ego that stands between you and your rizq. It releases the anxiety that clouds your heart. It humbles you in a world that teaches pride. It shifts your focus from what is missing to who is giving. And once your heart is aligned that way, you begin to see miracles, the unexpected opportunity, the sudden relief, the peace that settles even before the problem is solved. This is the power of this dua. It doesn't just change your situation, it changes you. When Allah responds to this dua, He doesn't only give, He elevates. Yunus A.S. came out of darkness not just alive, but purified, strengthened, and chosen. That's what happens when you turn your hardship into worship. Every time you call upon Allah with the dua of Yunus, you're telling Him, Ya Allah, I cannot, but you can. And that simple truth invites divine help faster than any worldly effort. Rizq begins to come from places you didn't expect. Doors you thought were sealed begin to open. People's hearts begin to soften towards you. And even before the provision reaches your hands, you feel a strange sense of peace that it's already on its way. So if you feel like you are in a dark place right now, say this dua. If you feel like you've been forgotten, say it again. If your business has slowed, your wallet feels empty, your heart feels heavy, say it once more. Each recitation is like striking light in the darkness. And soon, the darkness itself begins to glow, because the dua of Yunus A.S. is not about escaping difficulty. It's about remembering that even in the hardest moments, you are never alone. The one who sustained Yunus in the belly of the whale, who commanded the sea and the creature and the night to protect him, is the same one who sustains you now. Rizq flows toward the heart that calls upon Allah sincerely. And this dua, if repeated with full faith, not only brings wealth or opportunity, it brings a peace that wealth cannot buy. It brings you closer to the source of all rizq, the one who says in the Quran, call upon me, I will respond to you. So call upon Him like Yunus as did, in your darkness, in your waiting, in your hope, and watch how light returns to every corner of your life. Rizq is not only about money, wealth, or material possessions. True rizq is holistic. It encompasses peace in your heart, health in your body, love in your family, clarity in your mind, and satisfaction in your soul. Many people limit the concept of rizq to what they can count, hold, or display, but the reality is that the greatest sustenance is invisible. Food, shelter, and income are important, yes, but what about the tranquility in your home, the harmony in your relationships, the patience that grows in your character, the ability to face hardship without despair? These are also forms of rizq, and often they are more valuable than gold, because without them, even the wealthiest life feels empty. The dua of Yunus is a gateway to receiving this holistic rizq. When you call upon Allah with sincerity, you are not only asking for provision in the form of money or food, but also for blessings in every aspect of your life. Allah listens to the heart that admits weakness and seeks His mercy. When your soul whispers this dua from the depths of your being, you are inviting Him to fill all gaps in your life, with patience where you are anxious, with clarity where you are confused, with love where there is discord, with peace where there is chaos. Material rizq alone cannot satisfy a restless heart. A person may have abundance and yet feel empty, anxious, or lonely. But when Allah places barakah in your life, your heart becomes content even with little. Your body feels nourished. Your mind feels clear. Your relationships flourish, and opportunities arrive in ways you could never imagine. That is the kind of rizq that changes lives. It is sustainable, unlike worldly possessions that can be lost, stolen, or destroyed. The dua of Yunus as his works on both levels, asking for sustenance and simultaneously purifying the heart to receive it fully. When you recite this dua regularly, you begin to notice subtle shifts. You start to appreciate what you have rather than focusing on what you lack. you begin to experience patience when the path seems long and darkness when hope feels dim. You start to trust that your needs are known to the one who cannot be mistaken. Each recitation softens your heart, opens your eyes to hidden blessings, and strengthens your connection to the source of all provision. Rizq then becomes a reflection of your faith and sincerity rather than only the fruits of your effort. Many people pray only when in need, but the dua of Yunus encourages constant remembrance. Say it in your morning, say it before meals, say it in your work, say it in moments of happiness and struggle alike. By doing so, you align your life with divine sustenance, and rizq begins to flow in ways that are both tangible and intangible. The blessing is not only in what comes to you, but in how it comes, effortless, timely, and filled with tranquility. Moreover, this holistic rizq affects every corner of your life. Your home becomes a sanctuary, not just a building. Your family becomes a source of joy, not tension. Your work becomes productive, not stressful. Your health strengthens and your heart grows content. All of this is part of Allah's provision for you. And it begins when your tongue, heart, and soul call out with sincerity, humility, and submission through the dua of Yunus as. Rizq in its truest form is the combination of provision, blessing, and inner peace. The dua teaches us that material wealth without spiritual and emotional balance is incomplete. So do not only seek money, seek the state of your soul, the alignment of your heart, and the barakah that transforms every small thing into abundance. When you do this, every step you take is guided, every decision is supported, and every hardship becomes a path to greater mercy. In this way, the dua for rizq does not simply provide, it transforms, enriches, and elevates your entire life. The person who truly understands this will know that even a single recitation can set in motion blessings far beyond human imagination. It's not just a request for sustenance. It's a key to a life filled with balance, barakah, and contentment, where every aspect of your being is nourished and every moment is blessed. The dua becomes a spiritual magnet, drawing both seen and unseen provision directly to you. And when this understanding settles in your heart, your perspective on life itself changes. You no longer chase after mere wealth because you now understand that true rizq has already been written for you, and what Allah gives is infinitely greater than what you could ever imagine. The tongue that constantly remembers the one who provides becomes a magnet for sustenance. Every word of praise, every expression of gratitude, and every humble confession draws blessings closer, unseen by the eye but felt deeply by the heart. When you speak from the heart, not just the lips, you are opening channels that wealth, opportunities, and peace cannot reach through effort alone. True rizq begins with remembrance, not with struggle. When you say words of truth and surrender, when you acknowledge your dependence on the divine, you are planting seeds that will grow into abundance in every aspect of your life. Prayer is not only about asking, it is about positioning yourself to receive. When your heart is connected to the source of all provision, your actions, choices, and relationships begin to align with the flow of blessings. The words of prayer soften hearts, your own and those around you. They attract help from unexpected places, solutions to problems that seemed impossible, and opportunities that appear when you least expect them. The practice of remembering the one who provides transforms not only your perspective, but the energy around you. You begin to notice synchronicities, doors opening effortlessly, and connections forming naturally. The power of remembrance is not limited to spoken words. Even your silent thoughts, when focused on gratitude and acknowledgement of your dependence, shape your destiny. When you consciously keep your heart and mind in alignment with the one who sustains, every effort you make becomes multiplied, every hardship becomes lighter, and every small act turns into a source of blessing. This is why those who consistently practice gratitude and praise see their provision increase, not always immediately in material terms, but in ways that strengthen their character, relationships, and resilience. Rizq is not only external, it is deeply internal. The heart that remembers, the tongue that praises, and the mind that trusts are all part of the provision. When you consciously practice this remembrance every day, you begin to notice subtle yet profound changes. You feel lighter, more patient, more capable, and more connected. Your relationships improve, your focus sharpens, and opportunities begin to flow towards you. The blessing in your life is no longer dependent on your effort alone. It becomes a reflection of your spiritual alignment. Many people wait for the right time, the right opportunity, or the right moment to ask for provision. But the truth is that every moment is the right moment for remembrance. You do not need to wait until hardship arrives to call upon the divine. By keeping your heart in a state of gratitude and humility every day, you create a constant flow of blessings in both visible and unseen ways. The tongue that praises, that confesses its limitations, and that seeks guidance continuously is the tongue that opens the doors of divine sustenance. Remember, the effectiveness of this practice does not depend on perfection. The heart does not need to be flawless, and the words do not need to be eloquent. What matters is sincerity. Even a simple phrase spoken with honesty and full awareness can move the unseen forces of provision. Consistency is key. The heart that remembers every day, not only in times of need, creates a steady river of blessings that nourishes every part of life. When you combine action with remembrance, effort with prayer, and intention with gratitude, your entire life becomes a vessel for abundance. The divine responds to sincerity, humility, and recognition of dependence. The more your tongue and heart are engaged in this conscious practice, the more the unseen begins to flow into the seen. Opportunities, peace, joy, and material provision all follow the path carved by remembrance. Ultimately, this principle teaches that sustenance is not a matter of luck, effort alone, or external conditions. It is a matter of alignment with your heart, your words, your intentions, and the one who provides. The tongue that constantly praises, confesses, and remembers becomes a magnet for provision in ways that cannot be measured. You will notice your life shifting in every direction, internally, externally, materially, and spiritually. What you receive will not only meet your needs, but also exceed them, bringing peace, growth, and fulfillment to every corner of your existence. The power lies in persistence. When you make remembrance a habit, when your tongue never forgets to express gratitude and your heart never forgets to surrender, you are not simply asking for sustenance. You are embodying it. This is the key to unlocking blessings that transform not only your life, but the lives of those around you. The flow of provision becomes unstoppable when the heart and tongue work together in sincere remembrance, opening the path to a life filled with abundance, barakah, and peace that cannot be measured by worldly standards. True rizq is not measured by what you hold in your hands, but by what you give from your heart. The act of giving, whether it is wealth, time, kindness, or knowledge, opens channels of provision that are far greater than what you can imagine. When you give sincerely, without expecting anything in return, the unseen world responds. Blessings flow back to you in ways that cannot be counted or predicted. Giving is not merely a charitable act. It is a spiritual principle. The universe, guided by the one who provides, ensures that what leaves your hands returns multiplied in forms that you may not have even envisioned. The heart that gives is a magnet for divine sustenance, because generosity aligns you with the flow of abundance rather than the scarcity of fear or doubt. When you give, you are acknowledging that everything you have belongs to a higher source. This recognition removes attachment to material possessions and replaces it with trust, gratitude, and faith. The act of giving demonstrates that you are ready to be a channel for blessings rather than a vessel clinging to them. In that moment, the flow of rizq begins to increase because the divine sees sincerity, humility, and obedience. It is in these moments when giving is done quietly, humbly, and without pride that doors of opportunity, provision, and peace begin to open. Your efforts multiply, your relationships deepen, and your life becomes a reflection of both mercy and abundance. Giving also transforms the giver. It softens the heart, strengthens the spirit, and builds trust in the divine plan. When you give without expectation, you are practicing the highest form of reliance and surrender. You recognize that sustenance is not limited to the quantity of your possessions, but is determined by the one who controls the unseen. And this realization shifts your perspective. You begin to see every blessing as temporary, every gift as a trust, and every opportunity as a chance to align your life with the flow of divine provision. In this state, the heart that gives becomes fertile ground for even greater blessings. The principle of giving applies not only to wealth, but to all forms of contribution. Sharing knowledge, offering kindness, helping someone in need, or even a smile can create ripple effects of provision. Each act of generosity invites barakah into your life. You may not immediately see the results, but every sincere action leaves an imprint in the unseen world that eventually manifests in your reality. This is the law of spiritual investment. What you plant with sincerity returns with growth in ways far beyond the material. Rizq is ultimately holistic, and giving is the key that unlocks its full spectrum. By giving, you invite sustenance not only in material form, but also in emotional, relational, and spiritual dimensions. You create balance in your life, removing attachment and fear while opening space for gratitude, peace, and abundance. The heart that gives, even in small amounts, demonstrates readiness for greater provision because it reflects trust in the one who knows all needs and fulfills them in perfect timing. The flow of blessings is also connected to the intention behind giving. When you give to earn recognition or praise, the impact is limited, but when giving is purely for the sake of alignment with divine will, the unseen doors swing wide open. Provision begins to arrive in unexpected ways. Opportunities appear, connections form, needs are met, and even challenges transform into lessons and pathways to growth. The heart that gives without reservation becomes a conduit for miracles in both the seen and unseen world. Moreover, giving transforms scarcity into abundance. A mind that fears loss focuses on limitations, but a heart that gives freely demonstrates faith in the unlimited source of provision. This act itself invites more. What leaves your hand returns multiplied and enriched. Relationships strengthen, resources expand, and your soul experiences fulfillment that cannot be measured by wealth alone. This is the essence of true Rizq. It is a life of holistic provision where every gift given returns as mercy, blessing, and opportunity. Ultimately, the strongest form of sustenance comes when giving is paired with gratitude and remembrance. A life of giving, aligned with prayer and sincere connection to the divine, transforms every challenge into opportunity, every need into blessing, and every moment into a source of peace. The heart that gives constantly, without hesitation, becomes a vessel for provision that flows effortlessly, sustaining not only material needs, but also the soul, the mind, and the spirit. This is the power of giving. It changes lives, starting with your own, and sets in motion a cycle of abundance that is limitless, enduring, and transformative.